In the middle of a bustling Los Angeles street, a frazzled driver receives help from a soft-spoken Good Samaritan who changes her flat tire, completely unaware he's one of Hollywood's biggest stars, Keanu Reeves. When she finally realizes her rescuer's true identity, the emotional surprise is enough to warm even the coldest heart. But before we dive in, leave a comment and let us know where you're watching from today. And if this story speaks to you, hit that subscribe button for more amazing stories. It was a typical sunny day in Los Angeles, the sky a brilliant shade of blue. The gentle warmth of the morning sun hinted at the heat soon to come. People hurried by on the sidewalks, weaving around each other with skillful precision, their minds on work, errands, and the routines of daily life. Keanu blended seamlessly into this crowd. No flashing cameras, no large security detail. Just him, a quiet figure who loved the city's hum. Halfway through his route, he stopped by a local cafe he had frequented for years. The barista, a man named Oliver, recognized him instantly. "Morning, Keanu. The usual?" "Yes, please," Keanu replied, offering a friendly nod. He then settled into a small corner table, sipping his coffee in comfortable silence. Though a couple of patrons cast curious glances, no one approached him. In the corner of his mind, Keanu was thinking about a new project he'd been working on, a charitable initiative involving community outreach. He planned on visiting a nearby organization after finishing his coffee. With his cup emptied, he thanked Oliver, then stepped back onto the street. His destination? A local volunteer center. The walk wasn't far, so Keanu decided to take in the fresh air rather than drive. The city was alive around him, cars honking, street vendors chatting, and people bustling in every direction. Just a few blocks away from the center, fate intervened. Keanu noticed a woman standing by the shoulder of a side street, frowning at the rear tire of her compact sedan. She looked visibly distressed, her phone in hand. As he got closer, Keanu could see that the tire was completely deflated, a flat. The woman's face was flush with anxiety, and the morning sun made her squint uncomfortably as she tried to read something on her phone. Without missing a beat, Keanu slowed his pace. His gentle nature dictated that he never walked away when someone seemed to need help. He approached, hands in his jacket pockets to seem as unthreatening as possible. "Good morning. Looks like you're having some trouble. Need any help?" The woman, who appeared to be in her mid-30s, looked up, surprised by the kind offer from a total stranger. She hesitated, then exhaled, relief mingling with uncertainty. I'm sorry. I might need a hand," she admitted. "I have a spare tire, but I've never changed one myself. I'm trying to call a friend, but no luck." Keanu offered a reassuring smile. "No worries. I can help you change it, if you'd like." Her shoulders sagged with relief. "That would be amazing," she said, quickly tucking her phone into her back pocket. "I'm not sure how I'd manage on my own." Keanu introduced himself simply. No last name, just Keanu. The woman, whose name was Lauren, nodded gratefully, not realizing she was talking to one of the most famous actors in the world. In her mind, he was just a friendly stranger with warm eyes and a relaxed demeanor. They walked to the trunk of the car together. Keanu helped retrieve the spare tire in the jack, then got down to work without hesitation. His movements were practiced yet unassuming, reflecting his calm confidence in dealing with ordinary tasks. A few passing vehicles honked out of habit, drivers noticing that someone was assisting a stranded motorist. In the midst of dusty asphalt and whirring traffic, an unexpected moment of kindness was unfolding. Lauren hovered close, feeling somewhat guilty for letting a stranger do the heavy lifting. But each time she offered to help, Keanu just smiled. "I've got it," he would say, his voice as soothing as the breezy morning air. What neither of them knew was that this small encounter, this simple act of changing a flat tire, would become the start of something deeper. Because once Lauren discovered who this humble Samaritan really was, her reaction would be nothing short of heart-melting. And in a city like Los Angeles, where celebrity run-ins are often fleeting, this particular moment of generosity would soon turn into an unforgettable story. Lauren couldn't believe how quickly her morning had taken a turn. Just minutes ago, she'd been stressing over a completely flat tire, worrying about how she'd be late for work. Now, a tall man named Keanu, who seemed oddly familiar yet impossible to place, was kneeling by her car, wrestling with lug nuts and calmly walking her through the process of swapping out the tire. They chatted sporadically while he worked, the conversation casual but comforting. Lauren, ordinarily cautious around strangers, found herself strangely at ease in his presence. "So, do you live around here?" she asked, leaning in to watch him loosen the last bolt. "Not too far," Keanu replied, grunting slightly as he applied force. "I like to walk the neighborhood when I can. LA traffic isn't always fun." She laughed, a little tension draining away. "Tell me about it. I hate driving sometimes. It's so kind of you to do this, by the way." Not everyone would stop to help. Keanu paused, wiped his brow, and shrugged modestly. "It's no big deal. I've been in your position before. Sometimes you just need someone with a spare moment." Little did Lauren know that her helpful stranger was a global superstar, known for both his film roles and his genuine kindness. She watched him with growing curiosity. There was something strangely recognizable about his face. She'd caught him smiling in between tasks, a gentle, lopsided grin that nudged at the corners of her memory. Was he an off-duty mechanic? A teacher? A small business owner? Just as the questions flooded Lauren's mind, a sudden gust of wind kicked up some dust from the curb, causing her to shield her eyes. Keanu glanced her way. "You okay?" he asked, concern creasing his forehead. "Yeah, I'm fine," she replied, rubbing her eyes with her sleeve. "Just dust. I guess the day decided not to go easy on me." Keanu responded with a sympathetic nod, then carefully lifted the old tire off. "Can you hand me the spare?" he requested. She hurried to pass it over, feeling a pang of guilt that she wasn't helping more. Yet he reassured her with a calm, "Don't worry, you're doing great. Just keep me company while I work." They lapsed into a companionable silence as Keanu fitted the spare onto the wheel. Lauren's gaze drifted to his face, noticing the concentration in his eyes. There was a gentleness there that put her at ease. No hurry, no sign of impatience. For a moment, it felt like the world slowed down. Cars zoomed by, horns honked in the distance. But at this spot on the roadside, only kindness and calm prevailed. A couple of passers-by eyed Keanu warily, some seeming to pause in recognition. One young man on a scooter nearly swerved, mouth open in silent surprise. Another pedestrian raised a phone, possibly taking a photo. Lauren didn't catch these subtle reactions, still too preoccupied with her own thoughts and the stress of the morning. Finally, with the spare tire secured and the lug nuts tightened, Keanu stood up and wiped his hands on a rag. The job was done, and though he had a smudge of grease on his forearm, he looked oddly triumphant, as if he'd conquered a grand mission. "I think you're all set," he said, stepping back to admire the replaced tire. "You'll probably want to get this checked soon or replace the tire entirely. Spares aren't meant to last forever." Lauren sighed in relief, a broad smile lighting up her face. "You just saved my day. Honestly, I don't know how to thank you enough. This morning was heading for disaster." Keanu responded with the same kind, subtle grin. "Glad to help. We all need a little assistance now and then." As she brushed off the knees of her pants and moved to toss the old tire into the trunk, Lauren couldn't shake the growing feeling that her helper was someone she should recognize. She glanced over at him thoughtfully. "Hey, Keanu. Thanks again. You look so familiar." He gave her a gentle shrug, as if evading the question. "I get that sometimes. Maybe we cross paths somewhere." Lauren laughed, a little embarrassed. "Maybe. Or maybe you just have one of those faces." She paused, glancing at him one more time. "Anyway, thank you so much again. It means a lot." A flicker of humor danced in Keanu's eyes, but he only nodded in response. "Drive safe, all right?" She nodded and rummaged in her purse, fishing out a small notepad. "Could I at least write down my number, in case there's anything I can do to repay the favor? Let me buy you coffee sometime." Keanu hesitated, but he didn't want to be rude. "Sure," he said. "Coffee sounds nice." With that, she handed him the slip of paper, and he tucked it into his jacket pocket. Though neither of them knew it yet, this little exchange would eventually lead to a heartwarming twist, when Lauren finally discovered his true identity, and her reaction would be something nobody around her would soon forget. Keanu Reeves and Lauren parted ways that morning on a positive note, with a quick wave and a mutual smile. She hopped into her car, carefully merging back into traffic, and he continued on foot toward the volunteer center. It all felt so mundane, just two strangers intersecting for a brief moment of kindness. Yet the ripple effect of that encounter was already in motion. Hours later, Lauren arrived at her office. She was eager to share the bizarre morning event with her colleagues. After all, how often does a random passerby rescue you from car trouble? Still, in the back of her mind, she couldn't shake the idea that this Keanu was more than he seemed. After finishing some paperwork, she recounted the story to a coworker named Jenna. He introduced himself as Keanu, but he seemed so, I don't know, calm, friendly. And I swear, I've seen him somewhere before. Jenna raised an eyebrow. Keanu Reeves? She joked, rolling her eyes. What, you think a Hollywood superstar would be changing tires on a random street? Lauren laughed. Very funny. Of course not. But it's just weird. He looks exactly like him, minus the big Hollywood drama. Just imagine a regular guy, super polite, no entourage. Jenna smirked. Stranger things have happened in L.A. Their conversation drifted to office tasks, but an hour later, Lauren's phone buzzed with a text from her younger cousin, who was something of a social media whiz. The message read, "Oh my God, check out the news. Did you see Keanu Reeves was spotted helping someone with a flat tire this morning? The photo's going viral." Lauren's heart skipped a beat. She quickly tapped the link her cousin had sent. On the screen was a grainy photo, obviously taken from across the street, but it was unmistakable. The figure kneeling by the wheel of a compact sedan was Keanu Reeves, the actor, wearing the same jacket her helper had worn that morning. The license plate matched her car. There was even a second shot capturing her, looking on, phone in hand, while he worked on the lug nuts. Her jaw dropped. Her hand flew to her mouth, and she nearly spilled her coffee. "Oh my God," she whispered, eyes wide. A rush of emotions, astonishment, gratitude, a dash of embarrassment, flooded her all at once. She hadn't recognized one of the world's most famous actors, not even as he performed a simple act of kindness. Jenna, noticing Lauren's reaction, rushed over. "What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." With trembling hands, Lauren showed her the photos. Jenna's eyes grew just as large. "You're telling me that the Keanu who helped you today was actually Keanu Reeves?" Lauren nodded dumbly. "I thought he just had a familiar face. I never imagined he was actually him." The realization sank in. She recalled every detail. The soft, patient way he'd explained how to change a tire, the sincerity in his voice, the courtesy he showed from start to finish. None of it had been showy or attention-seeking. He had just been real, a genuine human being helping another in need. Emotions churned inside her. Gratitude, disbelief, and a strange excitement mingled in her chest. She felt a little starstruck, even though the moment had already passed. "I gave him my number," she admitted, cheeks flushing red. "I offered to buy him coffee to say thanks. I can't believe—" Jenna smacked the desk, causing her coffee cup to wobble. "Girl, he might actually call you. Don't freak out." Lauren couldn't suppress a giggle. "I'm already freaking out. He probably won't, though. He's a huge star, right? Still, the fact he even took my number—" Her phone buzzed again, lighting up with a notification from her cousin. "He's trending everywhere. Keanu Reeves' kindness. People are losing it over how humble he is." Lauren's heart warmed at the hashtag. She realized that, in a city often driven by glitz and vanity, this moment of quiet generosity had touched thousands of people worldwide. And here she was, right at the center of it all. The rest of the day rushed by in a blur. Friends and relatives bombarded Lauren with messages as the photos continued to circulate. Media outlets published quick blurbs about Keanu Reeves spotted helping a stranger with a flat tire. They marveled at how he asked for nothing in return. Some even poked fun at how she had no idea who he was at first, but almost every comment praised his down-to-earth nature. Meanwhile, at his volunteer center across town, Keanu learned that pictures of him changing a tire were all over social media. True to his nature, he merely shrugged, somewhat embarrassed by the attention, and went back to helping sort donated supplies. Yet part of him remembered the conversation with Lauren, the slip of paper with her number tucked safely in his pocket. As evening fell, Lauren drove home carefully on her spare tire. planning to visit a mechanic in the morning. She smiled every time she thought of the photos or recalled his patient voice. The chaotic day had transformed into something extraordinary, all thanks to a single, selfless act. In the quiet of her apartment, Lauren toyed with the piece of paper where she had scrawled her number for him. She wondered if he still had it, or if it got lost in the shuffle of his day. She told herself not to be disappointed if he never reached out. After all, he was Keanu Reeves, a global icon. But a seed of hope glimmered in her heart, wanting at least a chance to thank him properly. Because in a place where celebrities often seem inaccessible behind tinted windows and velvet ropes, Keanu's simple gesture had reminded the world, and especially Lauren, that genuine kindness transcends fame. And although the story was far from finished, her next encounter with Keanu, if it ever happened, promised to be an unforgettable moment. Indeed, her reaction when she found out who he was had already melted hearts everywhere, and it was only the beginning.